I thought maybe I would move out here onto another, to give you another view. And I'm not positive it's better because, well, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, it's dark now, so it is what it is, right? Thank you for watching. I'm not gonna, this is gonna be short. Like maybe 30 minutes or less unless you have a bunch of questions, right? But before I get into what I wanted to talk about, I wanted to give my viewers just a little tour of this incredible tower that I'm on. So I'm gonna actually just carry this tripod around and show you down. I don't want to drop my phone, but that's part of the YMCA building there. And this tower is about, I don't know, 10 stories up in the air, something like that. Let's see if I can bend that back. And I'm right at the top. But this, I just wanted to show you inside here. This is kind of cool. So you come up the elevator to the, I think, 6th or 7th floor, something like that. And then, yeah, 7th floor. And then you take another stairs up, and then you take this spiral staircase up to the very top. It was kind of like a lighthouse in a way. And they've got bells in this building somewhere because every night they do this bell concert kind of thing that goes on for like half an hour. And so the YMCA was very kind to allow me to come up here after hours. This thing is closed right now, and I'm the only person up here. I've got the whole thing to myself. But they're very, very kind, and it's actually my favorite hotel to stay in Jerusalem, because it's close walking distance to the old city. It is the architecture in this building is absolutely gorgeous. They're comfortable rooms, even though they're 100 years old, and very good service from the mostly Palestinian Christian employees who work here. So almost all of the people that work here are not Jews; they're Palestinian Christians, and they're wonderful. They're just very, very nice people. But the pièce de résistance, the best part about this hotel is its gym, because it is a YMCA after all. It's got the most rockin' gym right down there. And I mean, it's not the cheapest hotel. It's not nearly the most expensive. The hotel right across the street, right there, the King David, it's like $400 or $500 a night. The one that I can see right through here is the Waldorf Astoria. That's like $600 a night. There's another David Citadel hotel that's $300-400 a night. So this place is surrounded by expensive hotels, and it's usually less than $200 a night to stay here. So don't lean over the edge. It is a long way down, and it's very bright. There's light shining up over there. Question: should Benjamin Netanyahu fly anywhere in a plane due to so many people in power that would prefer him to be out of power? Well, I don't think he's going to be leaving Israel anytime soon, because it's not a good look for a leader to leave his country while the country is embroiled in war and protests and political strife and all that sort of thing. So most likely he's not going to go anywhere, except I guess he did accept a invitation to go to the United States and speak to Congress, and so he's going to do that sometime soon. That's of course, the United States is not about to arrest Benjamin Netanyahu. No way that's going to happen. But if he's already been told not to go to Germany. I say June 3rd Oh yeah, he accepted the invitation June 3rd, but I don't know when he's going to actually, um, actually go. Did I do a on-camera interview with the guy up at the border? Yes, I did, and that will be either a standalone video on my podcast, uh, and it will be a um, part. Be part of a news feature that I'm doing for CBN, maybe Newsmax. So it was a very good interview. He took me around, toured me around, showed me everything. And it was interesting. I wanted to talk more about what I saw up there on this podcast. So it was very interesting talking to him because he has a son who's serving in the military. And, I asked him, is there going to be a war, a full-scale war between Hezbollah in the north and the IDF? And, his answer was very interesting. It wasn't like, absolutely, oh yes, I definitely think it's going to happen. Even though the number of attacks has gone up on them, even though his kibbutz has been hit multiple times, and lots of, damage from that. I saw lots of craters and burned, charred trees and vines and stuff up there today. But despite all that, when I asked him if there was going to be a full-scale war, he said, I really hope not. He said, I think they can, if they can get a handle on Gaza, that's going to lower the temperature a little bit up here in the north. And Hezbollah is the reason, his belief, the reason that they're increasing their attacks in the north, ramping up the numbers and the severity of the attacks on northern Israel right now, is because they're trying to apply pressure on Israel to finish the war in Gaza. And that makes sense. Miami for Life, I am in Jerusalem on the top of the YMCA tower. It's called the YMCA Three Arches Hotel. And if you look up a picture of it, it used to be the tallest point in Jerusalem for like 30 years. It's not anymore, but it's still way up there. You can see I'm like way above most of the buildings down there. So he just felt like he's like, I do not want them to accept a ceasefire until the job is done in Gaza. I definitely want them to try to get our hostages back, but not at the cost of losing the war. And so I want them to go hard on Gaza, but I think once they do, I think the harder they hit Gaza, the less fighting they'll have to do in the north. Question, once the IDF finishes taking out Hamas, ending the war in Gaza, I'm assuming you're saying, Tony, will the other sects continue bombing Israel? I guess that remains to be seen. Perhaps, if they do, obviously the war will continue. You can't end the war until both sides decide to end it. No, I'm not at the Cassia Hotel. The Cassia Hotel is actually right there. It's that building right there. That's the Cassia Hotel, that dark spot right there. I'm at the YMCA Hotel. The Cassia is exclusively for refugees from Kiryat Shimona right now. So that hotel's still full of people that fled the north where I just was, and you can see why, because everything's on fire up there. They may not be hitting the cities, but they are certainly starting lots of fires that are burning all over northern Israel, and there aren't enough firefighters to get to them all. And so as you drive around up there, you see these wide swaths of land that have already burned. I drove by several swaths that were still burning, places where there were fire trucks trying to... I just got attacked by a bug. places where there were fire trucks trying to put stuff out, and definitely that is a huge problem. I mean, like I was saying before, how can people go back and live in that unless something happens that stops the attacks from the north? And will it be good enough for the IDF if Hezbollah stops? What if they scale back and they only shoot a couple of rockets a month? Will that be, quiet enough that Israel will go, okay, we'll shoot down those rockets with our Iron Dome system and we'll be, content with that? Or are they so angry still because of October 7th that they're like, nope, any possible threat to us, we are going to go hard on them until we take it out? If that's the case, I mean, they may not have a choice, because honestly, Israel probably doesn't have a large enough military or a well-stocked enough military to take on Hezbollah full bore in a full-scale war for a long period of time. At least they don't have enough to do that and go after, continue fighting in Gaza. They don't have the ability to do both and keep their economy rolling. It's either, they can have any one of those things, but probably not two or three of those things. Okay? So I'm going to go back up. I saw a couple more questions. Do you think the Navy can throw a devastating punch to Lebanon? What if Iran joins the fight? That's two different questions, Freddie. The Navy certainly could, go all shock and awe on Lebanon. But remember that Hezbollah isn't Lebanon per se. The Lebanese government is not happy about what Hezbollah is doing. Hezbollah is a militia that happens to be a political party inside Lebanon, and they're going to keep fighting Lebanon. Those guys, every day that they go on fighting, the Lebanese people get more fed up with it. And so Hezbollah is on a fairly tight leash. Number one, they're trying to keep Iran happy and throw just enough rockets over here to put pressure on Israel without actually making Israel mad enough to just send troops across the border. I saw a tremendous number of troops today as I drove around Israel. And I drove across about half of Israel today. I'm not going to get more specific than that, because obviously we don't want to tell bad people anything they don't need to know, and reporting on troop movements or disposition or numbers of troops is a big no-no in my business. And so I'm not going to do that. I will say that I did get a wonderful chance. Thank you, PC. I appreciate that. I think Iran is going to have another hardliner as their president. I think that's a foregone conclusion. But I did get to have lunch today with a group of soldiers, a squad of IDF soldiers. As I was driving up there, I pulled over and just picked up a big bag of falafels and falafel sandwiches, and I drove up there because there's a lot of checkpoints and stuff I have to get through, and never hurts to have a falafel sandwich in your pocket to pass out. But after I had a very nice chat with this guy up in the kibbutz in the north, right along the border, he took me down to a place where there were some troops, and we sat down and had lunch with those guys, and it was really fun. It was really cool to get to sit and talk to these guys, soldier to soldier, not so much as a journalist. That's why I'm not really sharing a lot of what they had to say, but just, hey, I was a soldier once. I know what it's like to be stuck out here, or having to hurry up and wait, and lay around here and wait for something to happen, missing your girlfriend and wishing you could go back to your job. And oh man, you don't like falafel? Falafel's like the Mexican food of Israel. It's great. I love falafel sandwiches. Matter of fact, I think I had falafel twice yesterday and once today. So I do about the same thing when I'm in the United States with Mexican food, because I love Mexican food. Best food on the planet. And I don't get it in Panama. I don't get it in Armenia. I certainly don't get it here in Israel. So whenever I get a chance to go back to the States for a few days, I just load up on Mexican food, Mexican. But if you can't have Mexican, falafel's a decent substitute. Not quite as good, but you know, Jerusalem does have some very good falafel places, for sure. The trick is go real heavy on all the vegetable stuff that they have there, which I've never been a big vegetable guy, although I am now. But man, if you have them throw like the cabbage and the coleslaw and the pickles and the pickled cauliflower and like all that stuff on there, it's actually really good. And tell them to make it spicy, and excellent stuff. So as a matter of fact, I'm missing my dinner right now to do this live. But so he took me down. We sat down with these troops and just had a nice talk with them. It was really cool. You know, compared and contrast, that's always fun. What was it like when you were in the military in the United States? What's the U.S. military think about this, or how do they handle that, or whatever? And I was showing them pictures of me when I was in the Rangers, and they were like, they were all talking in Hebrew for a minute, and I was like, what are they saying? And this friend of mine says, oh, they said, you look like a action movie star. I was like, I don't think they make action movie stars as old and fat as I am, but okay, I'll take it. I'll accept that. I'm not sure I would want to watch that movie, but I'll take it. But these guys were young, and I was trying to whip them into a push-up contest, and they weren't taking the bait, because why would you? You know. So Tony, what I was wrong about, I mentioned it on the last one. You know, I said that if I was the president here and had my way, the way I would have prosecuted this war in Gaza is the same way I would have done it in Afghanistan. And I still think that my way would work very well in Afghanistan or Iraq, any place. But there's some things about Israel that make it different, make it a little more complicated. And my way would be, we're going to go in with shock and awe. We're going to go in like a flood, and we are going to absolutely devastate your country. We're going to destroy every government building. We're going to kill everybody who stands up to us. We're going to murder. We're going to make your people beg us to stop. Beg us. And then we're going to leave. We're going to just reboot your country. And then we're just going to leave. We're not going to set up shop. We're not going to occupy your country for 20 years. We're not going to give you a bunch of aid. We're not going to do any of that. We're going to come in there. We're going to flatten what needs to be flattened. We're going to kill who needs to be killed. And then we're going to leave. And you can do whatever you want after that. You can rebuild your country any way you like. If you want to rebuild it as a Jeffersonian democracy, we salute you. And if you want our help and you ask us for help, for advice, we'll give you all the advice in the world about how to form a peaceful country. But we're not going to give you aid, money. We're not going to give you money. And we're just going to sit back and watch. And we're going to leave you alone. And the minute you become a threat to us again, we will send our troops back over there, and we will redo the whole operation. We will come in like a flood. We'll wipe out everything. We'll reboot your whole country, kill all your leaders, and then we'll leave again. And we'll just keep doing that as long as you want to do it. Hey, Rex, good to see you. And the beauty of that plan is that you might have to do it twice, and each time it would take maybe 6 weeks, 2 months, and then you just leave, Just leave. Just pull all your troops out and leave. Just leave it destroyed. It's not our responsibility to rebuild for them. Just because, because it's not our fault that it got wrecked. If they attacked us and we go in there and wipe out their military because they attacked us, then it's their fault that everything got destroyed in their country. It's not on us. That's my whole point. That's the big takeaway from what I'm trying to say, is it's not on Israel to rebuild Gaza, because the destruction that happened in Gaza is not Israel's fault, even though Israel might have been the one that did it. And we would just keep doing that. If I was president, we'd just keep doing that until they get the message. And everybody else would get the message too. And in the long run, it would save us men, it would save us money. That's the way to do it. Don't give them any weapons. Don't retrain their military. Don't send them $1 billion a week for 20 years. Just leave them alone and watch. And the minute they become a threat to us, we don't drop a bomb on them. We don't send a missile. Missiles, in my opinion, are kind of cowardly. We go in there 100% with everything we've got, and we flatten. We just flatten and bulldoze and destroy, and then we leave. We make them wish they had never been born, and then we leave. And 1 or 2 times of that in 1 or 2 places, and nobody messes with us again. I guarantee it. But why was I wrong about that in Gaza? Because in Gaza, once they go in and destroy everything in Gaza and kill off all the Hamas guys or whatever, as many as they can, yeah, go scorched earth, get in, get out, done. The problem is the United States, Qatar, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Iran, the European Union, everybody will send gazillions of dollars back to Gaza, and they will build them new roads, they will build them new government buildings, they'll fix everything for them. And so the punishment that we meant for them to endure, that Israel meant for them to endure, actually turns into a profit. Instead of punishment, it's profit. They will end up gaining. They get all new buildings. It's like, okay, so many of you probably don't know that I own a lodge in West Virginia. It's called Maple Fork Lodge. You can look it up on Airbnb or Vrbo, and we've owned it for many years, and it's basically a big Airbnb or a hotel, and we rent it out to people, family reunions. Joe Hayden, what part is wrong? Okay, I don't know what you're talking about. So we rent it out for family reunions and corporate retreats and ski parties and church groups and stuff like that, okay? And about once a year, we get some bad renters, and they just trash the place. And I used to take it really personally, because that's my house. I lived in that house for like 9 years, 8 years. And I used to take it super personally, and my wife would get upset, and we'd all get, I'd really feel it viscerally. If you put a cigarette through my couch or something when you're not supposed to be smoking in the house anyway, if you wreck one of my chairs or destroy it, we just had one of our chairs, I don't know what they did to it. I think they must have gone full WWE with one of the chairs, because it was just shattered. If you break a lamp or something like that, an accident I can handle, but some of the things you could tell were just really negligence. Like somebody, I would feel violated, right? But in the years that we've owned this thing, I finally realized, wait a minute, when people wreck things in my house, that's a good thing. I should be happy, because every renter buys an insurance policy in their name, not my name, for $5,000. And so if they break my couch in half, which has happened twice, people, how do you break a couch in half? Like, I don't know, but I don't know what goes on in there, but they break the couch. If somebody breaks my couch in half, I shouldn't be getting mad. I should be happy because I make an insurance claim. They replace my couch and I get a brand new couch. And so that's how I replace my furniture. That's how I replace my rugs. That's how I replace my lamps. And we keep everything up and keep it looking new and fresh. Is that, yeah, it might be 600-pound life. Yeah, they shoot my fish. Some kid shot $300 worth of fish out of my pond with a bow and arrow one time. They weren't even edible fish. Actually, that's happened twice now. But we just keep their security deposit or make an insurance claim and new everything, right? So it doesn't bother me if people wreck my house. I kind of hope they do. I kind of find myself going, oh man, we've had that couch for a couple of years now. Somebody needs to break our couch. Yeah, it's illegal to have surveillance cameras inside a rental like that. Can't do that. We have a bunch of them on the outside, but not on the inside. But so it's not, I don't get upset now. It doesn't bother me when people destroy my stuff because I get new stuff. And they're just things anyway. Well, liken that to what's happening in Gaza. The Gazans are having all their old stuff wrecked. And it's their own fault. And when it's all over, you mark my words, I guarantee that the world body, the United Nations and the United States and the European Union and all the Arab countries are going to send hundreds of billions, not tens of billions, hundreds of billions of dollars over the 5 years after this war ends into Gaza to rebuild it. And they're going to get all new stuff. And so the whole point of the shock and awe, go in and just decimate them and then leave, is to let them hurt. Let them stew in their own juices. Let them face the consequences of their actions. But that's not going to be the case in Gaza. They're not going to have to face the consequences of their actions. In fact, they're going to be rewarded for their actions with new everything. And without a doubt, a good portion of that aid is going to get siphoned off and go to Qatar, to the leaders of Hamas, if they're still alive, or whoever's the leaders of their new, whatever replaces Hamas, right? They're going to dig up their water system and turn it into missiles. They're going to dig up their light poles and turn them into missiles. And then Israel would have to go in and do it again. And again, and again, and again, until the world stops rewarding Gaza for being barbarians. So as long as the United States, the European Union, all the Arab countries, as long as they continue to treat the people of Gaza like a pretty little poodle that lost its toy mouse that it likes to chew on, and they just go buy him another one, buy him another one, buy him another one, until they stop treating the people in Gaza to new everything when they themselves are responsible for the destruction in their country, until they have to take responsibility for what they've done and what they do to others, then I'm wrong. My way would not work. What would work? I'm not sure. Because, and maybe that's why Israel is saying, that's one good reason for Israel to stay in Gaza for the duration, to make sure that they're not tearing up their water supply and making weapons, to make sure that they're not sawing down their light poles and making weapons, to make sure that they're not diverting all of the concrete that they make to make new tunnels. So that may very well be. It's the harder option for sure. It's not going to be fun. It's not going to be cheap. It means that Israel is going to be fighting an insurgency for the foreseeable future. But come to think of it, they've been fighting an insurgency, low grade, throughout Israel for decades, right? I mean, East Jerusalem, right over there. You're looking at a low grade insurgency. The whole of Judea and Samaria and Hebron, low grade insurgency. You have enemies who want to destroy you, living among your people, being sheltered by those people, and you don't know who they are until they're shooting at you. So Israel's used to it. Sherry, why are you in Israel? Have you not been watching the news? That's a strange question. Israel should take Gaza back. Well, so right now, the prevailing sentiment among the people that I've talked to in the north, in the south, and in Jerusalem is that Israel needs to stay where they are, as to stay in Gaza. And many people believe they need to start bringing Israelis back in there and making new settlements. I can tell you that that's going to cause a lot of heartburn with the world body, but I don't think Israel should put as much stock in what the world body has to say. With so much blood spilt on both sides, I feel it's time is a fight to the death, existential. The people here, Derek, in Israel believe it is an existential fight. No question. They believe with all their hearts. If October 7th taught them anything, it's that this is a fight to the death. It's either Hamas or Israel. You can't have half and half. Question: did the Houthis fire on the USS ship Eisenhower a few days ago? That's a real good question, Faith. There's been a lot of rumors that, well, there's not a rumor that it was fired on. There's a rumor that it was hit. And I don't believe it was. The U.S. Navy says it was not hit, but it did immediately leave the area and go into port somewhere. Some people are saying that proves that they actually sustained damage. I think it's just the opposite. I think if they went into port, that damage, and they were saying there was no damage, and then they went into port, well, then everybody in the port could see that there was damage, and they would be exposed in a lie. So I don't think, what I'm saying is I believe what the Navy says, that they did not sustain any damage. Now, the other reason why I don't believe that they sustained any damage is because Colonel McGregor is one of the clowns who is saying that they did. And Colonel McGregor has been literally wrong on almost everything since he started his illustrious career as a commentator, especially when it comes to what he had to say about Ukraine. He and Scott Ritter both. What's your take about the rapture? Do you think if we're about to live through the tribulation? I have no idea. I'm not an expert on those things. Okay, Gene Johnson, I'm not sure I like you. And so you go away. Bye. Your messages will be hidden. Let's see what else we got here. Let's see. I hope he's a good guy. Can't trust anyone. Question: do we look like cowards for leaving? Carla Joe, can you clarify your question? Does who look like cowards for leaving? Because I don't want to answer a question you didn't actually ask. So can you re-ask that and be more specific? Let's see. I don't think the U.S. should lead in giving money aid in rebuilding Gaza. I'm with you, CC. I don't think we ought to give him a darn cent. I know he's always on Redacted, and that's one reason that I wouldn't suggest watching Redacted. I think Israel should take over the Gaza Strip and let Palestinians go to Egypt. The only problem is Egypt won't take them. So there is that. Egypt still owns Egypt, as far as I know. Sodom and Gomorrah story. It's interesting. I drove down yesterday. Yeah, I drove down to the Dead Sea to a place called Ein Bokek to look at some hotels we're going to be staying in during our tour to Israel. Before you jump on, I want to go to the tour. It's full. You can't go. It's completely booked. We're oversold. And but I've been checking out some things places I wanted to stay and stuff on our tour in October. And I drove down there. But the southern end, or all around the Dead Sea, I really believe, when you drive down there and you look around, I really believe the theory that says the Dead Sea was not the Dead Sea until Sodom and Gomorrah, because Sodom was at the southern end of the Dead Sea. And when God destroyed Sodom, he destroyed the whole region for all eternity. And it is amazing down there. It is just such a wasteland. I've been all over this planet. I've seen a lot of wastelands, but I've never seen a wasteland like the Dead Sea. When God says, you're done, well, like Hebrews says, it is a terrible thing to fall into the hands of the living God. So, opinion about Biden declaring a ceasefire with Israel's government. Okay, my opinion is it was predicated on a lie. The lie was that the ceasefire plan came from Israel. It did not. It was actually a rehashed ceasefire plan from Hamas that the United States came out with and claimed that Israel had done. And that's why they sneakily announced it right after Shabbat started, so that the Israeli government could not respond for 24 hours. Given that Israel has the right to protect its people, what gives the Biden White House the right to make the rules? Well, I guess the pragmatic answer to that question is that the United States gives a lot of money to Israel and a lot of weapons. And so nothing like that comes without strings attached. Now, I think that Israel definitely should do whatever it can to move as much of its weapons production, military materiel, industry back into Israel. They need a lot of artillery shells and bombs and things like that. Those things now can be 3D printed at scale, out of metal, not plastic, although I've seen some made out of plastic that work just fine. And Israel could set up a factory someplace with a bunch of 3D what do they call those things? Metal extrusion printers or whatever, and just sit there and crank out artillery shells like there's no tomorrow, and not have to rely on the United States for a lot of what it already gets. But especially if Joe Biden gets reelected, Israel needs to be prepared to go it alone. And that means that, they listen to the United States because they still want to curry favor with the United States, but that may be a fool's errand if Joe Biden gets reelected. So let's see here. I want to know if they're going to be fighting Egypt. No, I don't think they're going to be fighting Egypt. Egypt has some very good reasons not to be fighting Israel. And a lot of it has to do with money. So, let's see. What are your views on Russia and the West allowing Ukraine to use Western weapons in Russian territory now? I think they should have done that a long time ago. If you're going to give them the weapons, let them use the weapons. If you don't want them to use the weapons, then don't give them the weapons. That's all there is to it. And if you want them to win the war, then you need to give them the wherewithal to do so. And not just trickle them just enough to not lose the war. And that's really what we've been doing for almost 3 years. We've been giving Ukraine just enough so that they don't lose, but not enough that they can win. And I think there are some reasons for that, the fecklessness of the Biden administration notwithstanding, but that's another topic for another time. Are they going to be fighting Egypt? No, they're not going to be fighting Egypt. Okay, I answered your question twice now, so I'm not going to answer that question anymore. Russia is definitely supporting Iran and Hamas. How many IDF casualties is acceptable to Israel? They've lost about 300 soldiers so far since they invaded Gaza on the 20th of October. And they lost about 300 on October 7th. So they're up to about 600 soldiers. I think the right question to that, the right answer to that question is just simply that that is not the question to ask. The question is, how far are they willing to go to win? Does Israel pay the U.S. for the weapons they get from the USA? Not usually. At times they have, and in some cases even recently they have, or they have tried to. But in some cases they get given like loan guarantees. So we'll give you a loan to buy these weapons, and if you can't pay the loan back, we'll just cancel the loan. But it's structured as an actual loan, and most of the time they do pay it back. Some of it is, there's lots of different ways that we structure this. And, if you go back to the old Iran-Contra affair, Oliver North, my good friend, was deeply involved in that. That was actually it started by the Israelis wanting to sell some surplus American guns that they had purchased from the United States. And they ended up selling them to a faction inside Iran that was against the current Iranian regime. And then the media got a hold of it. The Democrats turned it around to Oliver North was selling guns to Iran, our enemy, which is 180 degrees opposite of what he was actually doing. Okay? Should the U.S. expect our own October 7th? You can bet, David, that the terrorists are planning they're always planning a terror attack. And I think that what the U.S. should focus on is not falling prey to the hubris and the incompetence that led to the October 7th attack happening and being so devastating here. I mean, the October 7th attack probably would have happened anyway, but Israel had the plans for that attack beforehand, and they were just too proud to believe it. The leadership was too proud to believe. They called it aspirational. They said, that's something they would like to do, but they could never actually do that. We're Israel. We're smarter. They have this terrible superiority complex here in Israel, especially when it comes to dealing with the, savages south of their border. And you can see why. You can see why they would. But even unwashed savages can destroy you if you let your pride get in the way. Okay? They also serve as intelligence reconnaissance for the USA and vice versa, Scorp. The United States passes a lot of intelligence on to Israel as well. Does Biden still refuse to ship the missiles once agreed to? I think that got overruled, and they were just talking about it. I don't think that they actually ended up stopping any major shipments. They might have held them up for a little bit, but I think there was so much blowback that they let them go. If I remember right, I don't remember completely. Okay, I've gone longer than I planned to go. Thank you for joining the live. Please hit that like button, folks. And look, there's a lot of video coming out, specifically some of the video I shot today that I cannot post on social media. I cannot post publicly, but I can post it privately to a small group of friends. And so if you're one of my supporters on my locals page, chuckholton.com. If you're one of my supporters there, you will get to see some of the video that I can't show to the world, because on locals, you can, if you're a supporter, you can go watch it. You won't be able to download it or share it like to any social media, so I can afford to show it to you that way. But I saw and did some pretty cool things today that I'm not able to talk about. That's one of the most frustrating things about my job, is that I very often get to be privy to information or get to do things that I just am not able to include in my reports. No, I was buffering. Sorry, PC. Yeah, dropped out for a minute, but we're back now. So, I'm going to let you go since the internet is getting bad too, but thank you for watching. God bless you all. And tomorrow, I'm actually flying back to Armenia tomorrow afternoon, so I won't be on this time tomorrow. I might be able to be on from Athens on my layover tomorrow. We'll see. But stay tuned. God bless you. We'll see you then.